Hey, Precious.
Nope.
Okay, I didn't realize I was still filming here. Here we go. Next. Roaches. Yeah, I lived for 10.5 years with roaches throughout my house, in the walls, in the cupboards, on the food, on the dishes, in the beds. And when I told him when it first started and there was one crawling up my leg, I would say, I feel like something's on me. He'd say, what is it? Just turn the light on and see. And I'd look and there was a roach in the bed. And he'd say, well, kill it. So we'd kill that roach. I'd go back to bed, and pretty soon, over time, more roaches would be crawling on me. I'd say, Roland, they're crawling on me. And he'd say, they're not bothering me, honey. I don't know. Maybe you just got sweet blood or something. Just ignore them and go to sleep. I'm like, you're not going to do anything? We need to get an exterminator. We can't afford that. So we lived with roaches for 10.5 years, and it was terrible. And during the day, they started showing up all over everywhere. And he'd say, well, if you see one, just kill them, because for every one you kill, that's one less roach. Well, if you know anything about roaches, that's not quite the way it works. They multiply really rapidly. So within a very short amount of time, and you can imagine over 10.5 years what it was like. Even when I had my one baby, they would crawl onto her face and eat her eyebrows. And I would tell him, Roland, they're eating the baby's eyebrows. And he'd be like, well, just smack them. Just get them off of her. He wouldn't do anything to treat them. I finally went to a church where this wonderful pastor paid to have my house exterminated. And my ex-husband's attitude was, oh, okay, that's good. Not, oh, wow, that's really nice of him. No, there was no gratitude. It was always entitlement. Well, you know, of course they'll help us. Everybody owes us type of thing. When I left him at one point and was separated, and I talked to him on the phone, and I asked him, was he going to send some money for food for the kids? He said, that's not my problem anymore. You're the one that left and split up the family, not me. And I said, well, despite that, are you going to support your children and make sure they have food? He said, well, you're living with your friend. Can't she feed them? I mean, it was horrid. It was absolutely horrid. And I said, seriously, these are your children. He didn't care. It didn't matter. And he said, what you need to do is get your butt back here where you belong. And I said, I am not going to get my butt back there, and I don't belong there if you're going to be abusive and neglectful to these children. He said, it all happened when you started getting involved in those churches. You don't realize it. All your relationship with the so-called Lord, what it's doing to our marriage and our family and blah, blah, blah. I said, well, you don't compare to the Lord. He said, I'm the only Lord your knee should bow to, and you need to get back here where you belong. And I told him, that's never going to happen. You're not my God, and you never will be, so you can forget that. When my one daughter, my oldest daughter, got involved with some guys out in our clubhouse, which to this day he finds quite humorous to tell people about and brag about. She was molested by these guys, or ended up involved with them at 13, or whatever age she was, maybe 16. The two guys, it wasn't just my daughter, it was my other two daughters too. I was pregnant with my youngest, and the other two were in there with my oldest. And so there were 3 girls and 2 guys, and the 2 guys were engaged with my oldest daughter in front of my 2 younger daughters, and told the one daughter, don't ever tell your mother or your father what we're doing, because we'll hurt you if you do. And the youngest daughter, they said, if you keep your mouth shut, we'll buy you that Barbie house that you want, or Barbie car, or whatever it was that she wanted at the time. She was little. So for months, they kept this quiet. And then finally, my one daughter broke down. I was standing in the bathroom. She said, Mom, I know I've been acting kind of quiet around you and stuff lately. There's something I need to tell you. And she told me that my oldest daughter was involved with these 2 guys. And in front of them, in front of her sister and her. And that they swore them to secrecy. And when I told my ex-husband, he said, call her in here. And I called my daughter in there, and he whacked her as hard as he could across the head. And said, what the hell were you thinking? And that was it. She was crying. I held her in my arms, and I said, honey, it's very dangerous to do what you did, and I'm very concerned. And I took her for a rape test, and thankfully it was negative. We pressed charges on the guy, and of course he got the hand smack and, you know, behave yourself, be a good little boy type of thing, but nothing was ever done about it. So stay tuned for more.